Known for having a blue hue and lots of fish, turtles, and even mermaids, the Weeki Wachee Springs is absolutely beautiful. But its beauty comes with a price. The cave that lays below is very dangerous and could only be explored by experienced divers. But when a group of such divers entered the cave on the last day of March 2012, one of them, 29-year-old Marcin Ashley Kay, would pay the ultimate price of death even after everything his teammates did to save him. This is the tragic story of the Weeki Wachee incident.
Unfortunately, it's not the first time people have died there.
A dangerous depth of up to 200 feet can sometimes cause the unexpected to even skilled divers.
One time, long ago, Marcin Kay told his mom, Barbara Kay, "Mom, if I ever die cave diving, that's the thing I love the most." Any mother would be scared to hear their child talk about death at all, let alone use it in a sentence that has diving in it. Diving alone scared most people, and Barbara was terrified of her son's love for diving. She had heard unfortunate tales of scuba divers losing their lives, and was afraid that her son may face the same fate. Nevertheless, she respected his passion, and she knew it was where he found peace. Mrs. Barbara could also take comfort in the fact that her son wasn't just a daredevil who wished he could spend all his life underwater. This is because Kay also loved computers. Living many years in Gainesville, Florida, Kay worked as a network engineer in the IT department for Life South Community Blood Center. He had been at the center for 6 years while indulging in diving adventures on the side. He was also a surfer and had also attempted skydiving. But water was where he found the most joy, and he couldn't help it really. His father, also named Marcin Kay, had been in the Coast Guard, and this is where he developed a passion for swimming, surfing, and fishing. So when Karst Underwater Research was looking for members, Kay wasted no time in volunteering his service. Karst is a non-profit that regularly makes voluntary dives to deep places that scientists would otherwise not enter. They conduct research, and whatever they come up with, they provide for anyone to access for free. So basically, Kay was offered the opportunity to not just enjoy his devotion to diving, but also do it for a great cause. Karst usually operates in Florida, which has over 400 underwater cave systems, but the one they probably enjoy the most is the Weeki Wachee Springs State Park, and it's obvious why this might be the case. The Weeki Wachee, which has been in existence since 1947, is the only spring in the world where you can see live mermaids. To see the mermaids, one had to sit in the Mermaid Theater, which can seat 400 people at a time. This is an attraction that usually pulls both locals and tourists in alike, but the spring extends way below what tourists can see. For Kay and other volunteer divers of Karst, their attraction lies in the cave system, which even the mermaids won't dare approach despite their sophisticated training. Exploration of the Weeki Wachee cave system has been ongoing since 1998. However, because of the high pressure at the entrance of the cave, exploration was stalled until 2007 following an extended drought. Today, due to advancements in diving technology, the cave has been further explored and entrance into it has been much easier. For divers like Kay who had wanted to explore the cave, they first have to drop 75 feet from the surface of the springs to come face to face with the scary entrance of this cave. This entrance can allow only one man at a time to pass through. From there, they can explore as far below as 429 feet. But these dives are not as easy as it may sound. The truth is, according to Brett Hemphill, a long-standing member of Karst, there's a 50-50 chance that something will go wrong, whether it's equipment failure or a human error, so we prepare to deal with it. Hence, the team usually prepares for weeks before making just one dive. But more importantly, 25 members of the team are required to make this dive. Out of these 25, 7 safety divers are required to be in the water in case anything goes wrong. So on that day, on March 31st, 2012, 5 divers entered the cave, Kay included. He was well suited for the dive. His scuba tank contained the right supply of air, and his regulators were working when he dove in at around 3:30 p.m. He successfully made his way through the entrance, which was usually a hard swim considering the high pressure flow of the water, but this was something Kay had done many times before. From there, he dove deeper into the huge cavern room 180 feet from the surface. This part of the cave was a little more twisted with several rock formations, but during previous dives, materials like a white rope were placed in the narrow parts to make navigation easier. Usually when a diver wanted to go back to the surface, all they needed to do was follow the rope path and they would be fine. So at 180 feet in the cavern, Kay communicated to his team members that he was ready to swim back to the surface. They okayed him and he started making his ascent by following the white rope which led up to the crevice area of the cavern just 142 feet from the surface. From this point, the cave narrows and the rope is colored orange and has a diameter of 7/16 inches. Kay only had to follow this orange rope up to 68 feet from the surface and his eyes would be able to see daylight. Unfortunately, he didn't make it that far because something terrible happened. You see, as he moved upward, he did so too quickly, which forced air into his nostrils, resulting in a terrible medical condition known as an arterial gas embolism. Arterial gas embolism is the stoppage of blood flow to organs by the presence of bubbles in the arteries. The arteries affected in this case were those in his brain and heart, and the symptoms were fast and devastating. These are symptoms similar to stroke, which include disorientation, blindness, seizures, loss of consciousness, and paralysis. Kay started to exhibit some of these symptoms. First, he lost his ability to think properly and thus moved in the wrong direction, away from the roped path. He soon found himself in a tight and dangerous part of the cavern, just 100 feet from the surface. He couldn't move, and his confusion may have made him misunderstand his situation, hence leaving him to rapidly swing his head back and forth, eyes wide and alert, looking around with every muscle tensed for what could be the worst to happen. Luckily, the safety divers nearby could see he was stuck in this restrictive area and quickly swam to him to try and make a rescue. But this area of the cavern was so tight that even side mount divers couldn't just squeeze themselves through. Hence, the safety divers couldn't pull him out of his position despite their best efforts. They also tried to communicate with him with light signals and touch contact, but Kay couldn't respond properly because of his disorientation. So they quickly dove up to the surface to alert the rescue dive team. But as they left him, he was soon unconscious and rapidly drawing his last breath. Then, things would become even more catastrophic for him. During this time, the rescue divers were already geared up to make the rescue. They were equipped with all the necessary materials they would need for their own safety, but also for Kay's. This meant they had extra masks, regulators, fins, and any other necessary floating gears in case Kay was lacking any. In no time, they dove into the cave and reached Kay's position in only 3 minutes, but they were already too late. As they swam closer to Kay's body, they discovered his regulator was now out of his mouth and his mask was found on his forehead. Due to the blockage in his heart, blood could not flow to his lungs anymore, and in no short time, Kay was dead. After checking for a pulse on Kay but finding none, they went ahead to try to free him from his stuck position. But it was such a hassle for them. Despite their experience with situations like this, they found it hard to retrieve Kay's body. As they attempted to maneuver his body out of the complicated hold, they met several restrictions. The gear that Kay wore also didn't help matters, so they knew they had to get rid of them first. One of the rescuers, Matt Vinzant, reported that he was really wedged in there and we had to actually cut his gear off of him to get him out. By 4:47 p.m. that same day, they successfully pulled him out of the water and onto the surface where Kay's team members were waiting anxiously. They were heartbroken to find their friend and diving partner dead. Further review of Kay's gear revealed that his gas tank was still half full and his regulators still very much active, so speculations about the cause of death started to fly around, with drowning being the main culprit. The autopsy result killed every speculation by pointing to arterial air embolism as the real cause of death. But what was still not clear was why Kay chose to make an ascent more rapidly than he used to. This could not be ascertained. It's believed that something had happened down there that caused him to panic and move too quickly upward. His death was obviously a huge blow to his mother, who he had told about dying doing what he loved, but he also left behind other loved ones too, including his father and 2 other sisters. Following his death, Life South, where he had worked, created an account online for people who knew Kay to share what they thought about him. People spoke only good things. Speaking on her brother's death, his sister Andrea said, "Cave diving was his passion. He was kind of a daredevil. People were telling stories about what an amazing person he was and what a huge heart he had." This reminds me of another passionate diver that encountered an even more deadly situation, a diver named Bob Thomas that became entangled in his own equipment. If you thought Kay's story was tragic, wait till you see what happened to Bob.